If you're an overseas Vietnamese buying real estate in Vietnam under a relative's name, like a sibling or family member, then this episode is for you. As of 2025, Vietnamese law has changed. Now, you can fully own property in your own name when transacting in Vietnam. Today, I've invited Mr. Khôi, who has extensive knowledge of the procedures for overseas Vietnamese buying real estate in Vietnam. Mr. Khôi knows these procedures from A to Z. So, let's get started. Welcome back to the Realtique Vietnam Podcast. This is episode 2. I'm Trân. Joining me today is Mr. Khôi. Mr. Khôi, please say hello to our audience.
Greetings to everyone joining us here today. I am truly delighted to be here to clarify these important procedures for you all, with a special focus on our valued overseas Vietnamese community members living abroad. I have been receiving a significant number of inquiries regarding this matter through various online channels and my personal inbox quite recently.
Today's topic is of great interest to many overseas Vietnamese. How can a person of Vietnamese descent living abroad regain their Vietnamese citizenship to own real estate in Vietnam with all the rights of a domestic citizen? Before we dive into the procedures, we need to clarify something.
Yes, I see that.
Mr. Khôi, from what I've seen, many people think all overseas Vietnamese are the same. But there are actually two groups. As I understand it, there are those who still hold Vietnamese citizenship, and then there are those who are of Vietnamese descent but no longer have citizenship. So, what would you say is the most significant difference between these two groups?
Thank you so much, Tran, for helping me categorize We can divide the overseas Vietnamese into two groups. Let us explain each one first. Group number 1, those who still hold Vietnamese citizenship. Essentially, they are considered Vietnamese citizens. Even though they are living abroad, they still have full citizenship rights. For example, they can buy land, any type of real estate, and hold the title in their own name. They can use their capital to get bank loans for buying property or for investment and business purposes. They have full rights to transfer and inherit property, and notably, they can open savings accounts. Many Vietnamese people are very interested in this right now because interest rates are high and there are no limits. Regarding real estate ownership, they aren't restricted to the 50-year limit like foreigners. They get long-term ownership. Now there's another group. That brings us to our second group, individuals of Vietnamese descent who no longer hold Vietnamese citizenship.
I see.
This specific category directly relates to the question you raised, Tron. We are referring to people who no longer maintain their citizenship status. Perhaps they were born in Vietnam,
I see.
but moved abroad with their parents long before they were ever able to obtain a formal Vietnamese identification card. Or perhaps it is the case that they were actually born in a foreign country. These individuals happen to fall squarely into this second specific category. Even though they possess deep Vietnamese roots, they do not hold official Vietnamese citizenship. For those who lack a Vietnamese ID or citizenship, they are treated in every way just like foreigners.
That's right.
They will not possess any of the rights of a Vietnamese citizen that I previously mentioned for the first group. And whenever they invest in or purchase real estate in Vietnam, they are restricted to owning it for only 50 years.
I see.
They are restricted to purchasing only apartments and only up to the 30% foreign ownership quota allowed for any given project. Furthermore, they are denied access to bank loans for real estate, and they are also prohibited from opening local savings accounts. Essentially, they lack all the fundamental rights that a person holding full Vietnamese citizenship would naturally possess.
In reality, I see many overseas Vietnamese coming back to Vietnam who don't just want apartments. They also want to own other types of real estate like villas, townhouses, or what's commonly called landed property.
I see that.
That's a significant number of people, right?
That is absolutely correct. In fact, many Vietnamese living abroad still maintain strong ties with their relatives back in Vietnam, so they hear many stories from them. Generally speaking, Vietnamese people have a deep love for investing in real estate, especially land. It is a
That is
long-standing
true.
tradition that carries a significant amount of history with it. Because they have many relatives living here, they often hear stories like, I bought this piece of land earlier this year and sold it for double or even triple the price. So many overseas Vietnamese prefer investing in land and are much more interested in it. And that is precisely the reason why they ultimately wind up requesting that their close relatives hold a legal title on their behalf
I
whenever
see.
they are in the process of purchasing those specific types of properties. Since they don't have Vietnamese citizenship yet, this happens. But having a relative hold the title can lead to many unpleasant situations. For instance, simply put, the property doesn't belong to the overseas Vietnamese person, it belongs to the relative.
That's
It
right.
is very hard to keep under control. There have been many sad stories involving bitter disputes and various conflicts regarding this type of ownership.
In other words, regaining citizenship isn't just a dry administrative process. It's a way to protect your own assets. So, where do we begin with all of this? Let's move on to the necessary paperwork. For an overseas Vietnamese individual looking to regain their citizenship, what is the first step and what are the requirements? I mean, if they don't meet all the necessary criteria, they simply aren't able to proceed, right?
Right. So this is a great question. By answering this, I think I can save a lot of time for
That's right.
overseas Vietnamese. There are many people in that situation, but we can basically define them as people of Vietnamese origin living abroad.
I see.
However, we must distinguish between two very specific cases. First, there are those individuals who were born in a foreign country, and second, there are those who were born here in Vietnam, but later relocated
I see.
overseas to live there permanently. For the first case, those individuals who were born abroad, it is certain that they will not possess a Vietnamese birth
Birth certificate.
certificate. Currently, under the existing legal framework, there are no regulations in place that allow them to regain their Vietnamese citizenship.
I see.
Now, for those individuals of Vietnamese descent who were born in foreign countries and are interested in reclaiming their Vietnamese citizenship by choosing to return to Vietnam and providing the necessary documentation to prove their ancestral roots, I would like to take a moment to emphasize that, as things stand at this very moment,
I see.
I'm afraid there is simply no viable solution. People in this predicament really shouldn't waste their time. Don't bother spending energy
That's
searching
right.
for answers or conducting any research or anything of that nature. Now, for those who fall into the second category, individuals born in
I see.
Vietnam who already held a birth certificate before they moved abroad, this is precisely where we can identify a viable solution under the current Vietnamese legal framework. Even when individuals are already in possession of their official Vietnamese birth certificate, the specific document that they are most frequently missing is a valid Vietnamese identification card.
That's right.
Before they can obtain all the necessary official paperwork required for a new identification card, they must travel to the Vietnamese embassy in their current country of residence to formally apply for a valid Vietnamese passport.
I see.
The two most essential documents that they will absolutely need to provide are that Vietnamese passport along with their original birth certificate.
Birth certificate, right?
Only after completing those requirements can they finally return to Vietnam to formally apply for their official national identification card. Those are the fundamental steps one must follow to successfully regain a Vietnamese identification document. Of course, it is important to note that this is merely the basic outline of the entire process. While it might sound quite simple when described, actually obtaining all those necessary documents requires a significant amount of time and persistent effort. You must also gain a clear understanding of how the relevant agencies actually operate, both in your current country of residence and also in Vietnam.
I see. But tell me, Khôi, what about those people who were born in Vietnam but have lost their original birth certificates over the years? Is there any possible way for them to go about getting a replacement?
Well, I would have to say that is truly a 50-50 kind
Yes,
of
I see.
situation. Most people who were born in Vietnam and have unfortunately lost their birth certificates were typically born some 40 or 50 years ago. That really was quite
That's
a
right.
very long time ago, you have to understand. I have had several clients tell me that they have unfortunately lost their birth certificates, or perhaps they were born in Vietnam and never actually received one in the first place.
I see.
Yet they know for a fact that they were born right here. For whatever reason it may be, they simply do not seem to have it. In the event that the document has been misplaced, or if they never actually received it in the first place, they are able to return to the hospital or the local ward where they were born to work alongside the administrative authorities stationed there and attempt to retrieve a replacement copy.
That's right.
Naturally, it is essentially a 50-50 shot because it depends on exactly how long ago they were born. If they are lucky and
I
those
see.
records were properly preserved, they can certainly obtain a copy. But if the hospital or the local office no longer exists, it will be very difficult for them to track it down.
I see. After hearing all of this, I am quite sure many feel overwhelmed by the sheer number of steps. Are there any practical actions they can take on their own? And at what stage should they seek professional guidance?
As I mentioned previously, it is absolutely essential that you understand the entire procedure from start to finish
I see.
if you truly want to save yourself some valuable time. One of the most significant ways to streamline this process is specifically for those who fall into the first
that's right.
category, namely individuals who were born in a foreign country. You really shouldn't be wasting your precious energy attempting to reclaim your citizenship at this particular moment
That's
in
right.
time. Now, regarding the second scenario, however, for those who have unfortunately
Lost birth
misplaced their
certificate.
birth certificate, if you were born in Vietnam but lost it, you must prioritize finding that birth certificate first. Without it, you cannot proceed with any other
I see.
steps. If getting it back seems impossible, you should probably stop there for now. Because the next step in the sequence, once you
that's
have
right.
managed to get your hands on the birth certificate, is going to be to apply for a Vietnamese passport in your
That's right.
country of residence. That is a process you are perfectly capable of handling on your own. In fact, you have to do it yourself. A service here in Vietnam can't go to your country to help you. It depends on the local process there. It could take 6 months, a year, or even longer, depending on how they handle the application. Once you have successfully obtained your Vietnamese passport, you will need to return to Vietnam to personally handle all the necessary paperwork for your ID card. That is precisely the stage where our team can step in to provide support and guide the client through the entire process. I've heard there are professional services that can help with all the procedures and paperwork in Vietnam by working directly with the authorities to get your ID card as easily and as quickly as possible. And there you have it.
Actually, I've heard that domestic procedures are quite specific and change from time to time. It also depends on each client's individual circumstances and family situation. So, Khôi and I are just providing general information in this podcast to give you a basic understanding of the process. If any of you really need to reclaim your Vietnamese citizenship, please message Rudix privately. We'll provide the latest updates and find the most accurate and proper path for your specific case.
To put it briefly, just as I were mentioning earlier, there are essentially 2 primary cases to consider, although there are certainly a great many other highly specific scenarios as well. Given the nature of your own unique circumstances, I'm only able to provide you with a general overview of the process within the limited time we have here on this podcast. If you are looking for more comprehensive and tailored guidance, I would strongly suggest that you reach out to the team at Realtique directly. You are welcome to leave a comment or reach out to Realtique via the description below this video or podcast so we can help you identify the absolute best and most specific way to move forward. I would like to emphasize that the information provided in this video is intended strictly for reference purposes, and it may only remain relevant for the current period under the existing Vietnamese legal framework. To be more specific, regulations regarding citizenship and real estate ownership are subject to change
That's
and can
correct.
evolve over time. Therefore, it is always necessary to reach out to us directly so that we can provide you with the most current, accurate, and appropriate professional advice for your specific situation. Right. Once again, thank you so much, Tran. And thank you all for listening to today's podcast. If you have any questions about reclaiming Vietnamese citizenship or investing in Vietnamese real estate, please contact Realtique through the links in the description below.
Thank you, Khôi. And thank you all for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you, and see you next time.